Hey guys, it's Mr. Regan. Today we're going to look at absolute value equations. Alright, first let's start with the definition of absolute value. Get back to basics. Absolute value is the distance a number is from zero on a number line. So if we look some basic absolute value problems, let's say, what is the absolute value of -4? We're trying to find out how far from zero is -4. So I start here at 0. 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So the answer is +4 because distances are always given in positive. So the absolute value of -4 is +4. That's how far it is away from 0 on a number line. Let's try another one. What's the absolute value of 3? Once again, I start at 0. 1, 2, 3. So the distance from 0 to 3 is 3. Therefore, the absolute value of 3 is 3. So absolute value, distance from 0. Right, then we have some other problems where we start putting variables in. And we might ask you something like this. The absolute value of x equals 4. And then you need to solve that equation. Right, so now you got to think. What numbers can I put in here for x so that the distance from 0 equals 4? And it turns out that there's two. There's +4 and there's -4 because they both would have the absolute value equal to 4. So you get two solutions, x equals 4, x equals -4. All right, these are all problems that we've already done, we're already familiar with. All right, now, what we're going to be looking at today is solving absolute value equations. So I'm talking about something more like this. The absolute value of x plus 3 equals 5. Alright, now, to solve this, just like in that last problem that had x as a variable, we're going to get two solutions. So I like to think of this as being broken up into two parts. I take the equation that's written there without the absolute value symbols and I rewrite that. So I'm going to write x plus 3 equals 5. I'm going to take that same equation, I'm going to rewrite it over here without the absolute value symbols, x plus 3 equals, but instead of putting 5 this time, I'm going to do the opposite of that number. So on the left side, I just copied it down exactly how it was without the absolute value symbols. On the right side, I copied it down exactly how it was, but I used a negative for the number on the right. Alright, now I'm going to solve them. Subtract 3 on both sides. X equals 2. Subtract 3 on both sides. X equals -8. Either or of these answers are correct, so I'm going to put an or in between. I'm going to circle x equals 2 or x equals -8. And then if I want to just make sure, I'm not 100% confident here, I go back and I check. So I'm going to put 2 back in here for x. If I do 2 plus 3, I get 5. And the absolute value of 5 does equal 5. If I put -8 in for x, -8 plus 3 is -5. The absolute value of -5 is also 5. So both solutions do work out. I get x equals 2 or x equals -8. So just remember, you want to split this up into two parts. On the left side, rewrite it exactly how it was without the absolute value symbols. On the right side, exactly how it was without the absolute value symbols, except you're going to put a negative sign with that number. Alright, let's look at some more absolute value equation examples, because they do get a little more complicated. What if I had something like this? 2 plus the absolute value of x plus 1 equals, let's say 8. Alright, so before I break this up into two parts, I want to get rid of all the stuff that's outside of my absolute value symbol. So let me use inverse operations here, and I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. And that cancels. The absolute value, x plus 1 equals 8 minus 2, 6. Now I can break it up into two parts. x plus 1 equals 6, or x plus 1 equals negative 6. Subtract 1, x equals 5, or subtract 1, x equals negative 7. Okay, take a look at another one here. Let's try 3 times the absolute value of x. Let's try minus 2 equals 24. Alright, so once again, I want to get rid of the stuff that's outside of the absolute value symbol. So I am going to divide by 3 on both sides. Cancels. Absolute value of x minus 2 equals 8. Now I can break it up into my two parts. X minus 2 equals 8. Or x minus 2 equals negative 8. Adding 2 to both sides, x equals 10. Or add 2 to both sides, x equals negative 6. Now keep in mind, I'm going pretty quick here, so the whole idea of these videos is to help you. You can pause them, go back, watch them again, however works best for you. Alright, so there's my two solutions. Alright, let's try another one. Let's do the absolute value of x plus 4 equals negative 10. You are going to see problems like this. It might start out like this, or you might have to do a little work first to get rid of numbers outside the absolute value symbol like we did here, and then maybe it'll eventually look like this. Separate that so we can see it clear. When you see a problem like this, right away you should see something that isn't going to make sense to you. So take a second and think about it. If you even need to pause the video, because I'm going to go in and explain what it is. Alright, here's the problem. You can't take the absolute value of anything and get a negative number. Okay, so for this problem, I'm not even going to break it up into two parts and try and solve it. I know that this can't happen. I can't take the absolute value of anything and get a negative. So right away, I'm just going to say no solution. And that will happen occasionally. So be prepared to see something like that. All right, now we're going to talk about absolute deviation. I want to find out how many students at my school, Keith Valley Middle School, think that I am the best teacher. Okay, I didn't have time to ask every kid, so a survey was given to 200 Keith Valley students. They were asked if they thought Mr. Regan was the best teacher at Keith Valley. 62% said yes. 38% said no. And then this last line. This survey has a possible error of 4%. Now what they're saying here is that since we really didn't ask every kid, we're taking a survey trying to figure out what the real results would be if every kid voted on this. There could be a slight error because we only asked 200 kids. So these 62% that said yes, well, it could be 4% more than that. It could be really 66% that said yes. Or it could be 4% less, and maybe only 58% said yes. So when you have surveys like this, and you'll see this a lot of time when presidents are being elected, they'll take polls. There's usually this possible error. And even though 62% is what happened, we know that when every kid actually votes, it could go as high as 66%, it could go as low as 58%. All right, so that's an idea of kind of where this idea of absolute deviation comes in. Deviation is that possible error, how much it could deviate, how much it could change. All right, now this is the equation we're going to use for absolute deviation problems. X minus the given value equals absolute deviation. So if I were looking at the problem that we just were talking about, whether Mr. Regan is the best teacher, I'm going to set it up like this. X minus our given value, and if I go back, that was our 62%. Said yes. Our given value is our 62. Our absolute deviation, that's the deviation or the error. So equals 4. So that's how I would write the equation. X minus 62, that was our given value, equals 4, the deviation or what the error was. And then I would do what we did before. I would set this up. X minus 62 equals 4, or X minus 62 equals negative 4. Add 62 to both sides here. X equals 66, or I'm going to add 62 here. X equals 58, just like we said on the other page. So there are possible answers. Now a lot of problems you're going to see could be set up as a word problem, kind of like the survey problem I just said, but we're even going to see basic problems in our textbook and our study guide packets where it'll simply say the given value is 50. The absolute deviation is, let's say, 12, and it'll ask us to solve that. So we'll simply X minus the given value equals 12. Break it up into our two parts. X minus 50 equals 12, or X minus 50 equals negative 12. Solve this guy. Running out of room here. X equals 62, or add 50 on this side. X equals, what's that, 38? And then that would be my solution. Alright, so absolute value, little reminder of what absolute value means and seeing the kind of problems that we've done, maybe in the past. Then we had some solving absolute value equation problems where you're breaking it up into two parts, getting two solutions, and then we're ending with absolute deviation. All right, good luck, guys.